Welcome to Coach Garrett's exercise library. Warm up. I call this one knee circles, feet together, knees together, a little bit of a crouch, circles with the knees over the ankles, going one direction and then the other direction. Hip circles, standing with feet pointed forward, hip width apart, stretching up tall through the top of the head, circles in the air with the hips, trying to maintain spinal neutral. Doesn't need to be a big circle from the side, maintaining spinal neutral, trying not to let people move at the spine. Hip circles. Hip glides, wide stance, hips back, knees press out, and just gliding side to side, getting deeper as is available. Be sure people have a wide enough stance that as they get low, they can get nice and deep. As they get low, their knees don't press out over their feet. Shoulder external rotation servers, with the shoulders squeezed down, palms up, elbows stay squeezed into the side, just pressing my thumbs back. Standing up tall, activating external rotators in the shoulder, elbows squeezed in. Try not to let people go out there. Piggies and horsies. Picturing a horse and a pig. I have to step over the pig, and then I have to step under the horse. Again, over the pig and under the horse. You can visualize whatever you want, but visualizing something makes it harder for people to just step that foot through the pig. Over, under, big fence, little fence, whatever. Push up bottom rocks. So from lying face down, hands are in the start of a push-up position, and I'm just pushing side to side, opening up the chest a little bit on each side. Hands can be narrower or wider, trying to keep shoulder blades squeezed together. Slow-mo burpee is kind of like a modified sun salutation. Start by stretching up tall, bottom of the squat, hands can go down, low lunge on one side, down dog, plank, push up negative, can spend some time rocking, warm up or push up, plank, down dog, other side low lunge, stepping back into squat, standing all the way up. Again, extend, squat, low lunge, down dog, push up negative, warm or push up, plank, other side low lunge, squat, overhead. I call this a dolphin push-up. Just kidding. Dolphin push-up. Hands can either be clasped or out to the side. We're getting the hips high. I'm trying to touch my chin forward and then top of the head back. Chin forward, top of the head back. Can also do this from the knees. It's going to look a little bit like a plank to a child's pose. There it is, dolphin push-up. Again, hands can be clasped if that's more comfortable. All right. Next is vampire sit-up. I like to have plenty of mat here, trying to stay neutral at the hips, front of the body really on, butt really on, toes tucked or flat, hands by the side is the easiest. I'm just going slightly off center. Trying not to allow people to break at the hips, but rather keeping everything tight. Further back is harder. Feet flat just feels a little different. Arms out to the side is an option. Arms overhead is going to be the hardest. And just spending more time off center is going to make it harder as well. More padding for knees. Alternative would probably be just a squat or a narrow squat if people can't be on their knees. T-row. From the knees is going to look like this, rotating into a side plank, pulling up to overhead. Alternating would be onto the other side, pull up. So just like a side plank switch, you could also stay on one side, reach for the floor, reach for the ceiling. That would be a single-sided T-row, or alternating would be switching from the feet. Feet, hips, shoulders all rotate together. Rotate together. You could imagine doing this with a light weight. Push-up, in, out. So we're doing a push-up, hopping the feet in, hopping the feet back out. Push-up, in, out. You can also do a modified push-up and then still either jump in or step in. You can also do modified push-up, tap, tap. You could keep the whole thing on the knees, push-up, tap, tap. Go full out, push up, jump in, jump out. Gator style mountain climber. It's going to be a mountain climber, but we're bringing the knee to the outside, knee to the outside, adding a side crunch feel. You can do this from the knees as well, driving the knee up towards the armpit on both sides. Down dog, knee extensions. This is a primarily quad-based exercise. It's going to look like this. So a down dog, pressing hips back towards the heels, and then up. We're going for full flexion at the knee. Getting from here to here can be counterintuitive. People want to just drop their knees down. We want to press the hips back. So actually starting from standing, getting into a crouch, walking out, and then there's your end position. Press up and back. Further out is going to make it pretty hard to get the hips back. So having people walk in to get full flexion at the knees is ideal. They don't even have to come all the way up if their hamstrings are tight. They can do just half from crouch to half. Donkey kicks. Full out is going to be down dog, tuck, kick, kick. They don't have to do the full down and up. They can do a little pop, pop. Can also string these together. You can also add side to side. Alternatives would be down dog, butt kickers, or standing butt kickers, or standing hamstring curl. Seated or boat position tricep dips. In boat position, squeezing my shoulder blades together, bending at the elbows and pushing up, bending at the elbows, pushing up. You can float the heels if you want. You can float the hips if you want. No need to go all the way onto the elbows, unless that's a fun added challenge. Otherwise, just dip and return. Plank with lateral leap. Getting into a plank, and then I'm jumping from one side to the other. I can cross over or just step touch. I can also avoid the leap and just do a step touch. I'm trying to keep hips at about the level of shoulders. Modifications would be forearms, step touch, knee, step touch. Cross-legged to standing. This is a brain drill more than anything. So I'm cross-legged. I'm going to turn away from the leg that's on top, plant my hand, turning up to this crouch with hand on the floor, all the way up, other hand down, rotate to seated the other way. I can't switch here or I get pretzel-y. I have to go up the same way on the bottom, switch at the top, other hand goes down, rotate. Back up, switch hands at the top, rotate back down to seated. You could also do rotate to tabletop, rotate back to seated, rotate tabletop, rotate down to seated. Side plank switches would be a good option if none of that works. Side plank to standing. So from our side plank, you can have knee down even. We're going to step the top leg forward, press off into a lunge, come back up into standing, walk the hands back down, rotate back into that side lunge, step back. Ideally, this foot would be straight back. I'm a lot of room there. So again, side plank. You can do this on the forearm as well. Side plank, step forward, but then I do have to put hands down to press up from that lunge. Coming back down. Knee can come down. Stepping back out. From the feet, it's a little bit less weird. Side plank, step forward, press up. Can switch at the bottom. Or you can switch at the top, sending the other leg back. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, that's right. Butt plank. Plank from shoulder blades to heels, squeezing my butt tight through here. I can press my heels in. It doesn't mean my hips actually get off the floor. I'm just being really careful to have tightness here, squeeze my butt, pressing the heels into the floor. If that doesn't cause my low back to change shapes, I can raise my hips 1 millimeter off the floor, not attempting to do a big extension here, just trying to stay tight here, squeeze the hips 1 millimeter off the floor by putting pressure into the heels. This will be impossible for people with larger glute buttock area. Butt plank tap outs. From my butt plank, whether I'm floated or not, nice and strong here, tapping one foot out, tapping the other foot out, trying not to rock side to side. Again, hips can be on the floor, just putting as much pressure into the heels as I can control through here. Can do any variation of that. You can tap back, tap side. If you have something slippery for your floor, you can also do what I call butt jacks, which are out in, hips floated. Same thing, but you need something slippery. Super slalom. So we're getting into our classic super person pose here. Chin tucked, eyes straight down. lengthening, trying not to really lift everything, but rather stay low to the floor. And then by pushing my hands and feet to one side, I can roll up onto the side of my abdomen, back to center, press hands and feet to the other side, roll up slightly, back to center. Trying to keep my abdomen nice and strong, but drawn in the whole time, resting as needed. Side plank, thread the needle. If I'm in a side plank on feet, I can bring that foot through and then through the other way. If I'm in side plank on knees, I'll just be tapping that top foot forward and back to get some instability into my side plank. Boat tucks. In my boat seated position, hands can be down for support. I'm tapping heels down and then drawing knees in. Tap and in. I can go floated out and back in. I can also do this fully floated. Tuck-ups might be similar or similarly hard, going from that hollow body to our tuck-up. But just staying here, we can do this a little bit faster. Even hands down, you can go a little bit faster. Option to do heels down, single leg. That's a good option, that boat march. Side plank, side crunch. So from our side plank, we're adding a side crunch, squeezing knee towards elbow over the body. Stretching out long, squeezing over the body, trying not to collapse, trying not to come out front. Rather, we're adding that side crunch. Doesn't matter if knee and elbow touch, can do it from hand, elbow, knee, or foot. Reverse snow angel. Face down, feet squeezed together, toes pointed, feet pressing gently into the floor, chin tucked, eyes straight down, stretching out long from the pointed toes out through the top of the head. Bent arms is a great option, moving in that snow angel manner. Arms extended, I can't do one side because I have a wall here. We're just trying to lift the knuckles slightly while keeping lengthening out through the top of the head, so not looking up and bending at the neck. Lengthening, squeezing the knuckles gently towards the ceiling. Feet stay in contact with the floor, ideally. Can do IYTs if that float doesn't work. Bridge twist. This is a twist on your classic bridge. I'm getting into a bridge position here, arms together, twisting slightly from one side to the other. One shoulder blade comes off the floor, just a little bit. You can take this a little bit further, or you can keep it really minimal to just barely lifting one shoulder blade up and then putting it back down. Arms could be down, but it gets weird. L crunch. L crunch, so full out. I'm really tight here to begin with. One leg straight up, one leg straight out. Little crunches. Switching at some point. Can do this with both legs bent. Can do this with one toe on the floor. Or full out. You could lower that leg down if that was really helpful. Bird dog with crunch. Standard bird dog. Stretching out long. Adding knee, squeezing towards elbow underneath the body. Stretching out long. Squeeze. Could stay on one side or alternate. Boat halo. From that seated boat position, more upright is easier. Pretending I'm holding weight or actually holding a weight. Then halo around the head back to center, reversing every time. It will be harder with the weight. More lean back is a little harder. Floating the heels is a little harder. If you had a dumbbell, you could hold it by each end, or a can. I'm trying to avoid this hold on the dumbbell. Bridge kicks or bridge marches. Again, from our bridge position, front of the body stays tight, hips stay tight, feet have to start a little bit close together, kicking up, or marches with that knee driving up. Do this a little faster, but it's awkward to do it really fast. Clam boat. We're in that boat seated position. Inside of each foot stays together, pressing the knees out, squeezing back in. If you have a resistance band, that would be very useful for this. We can also do a self-resisted clam boat where we're using our own hands to resist that external rotation and abduction of the hip. Floating the feet a little bit makes the boat part a little less stable. Self-resisted clam boat. Trying to avoid letting people take their feet apart. Really pushing on the knees. Self-resisted bicep and tricep. Clasping hands together, planting one elbow into my side, trying to get full extension of the arm, pushing, pulling, making it slow, trying to resist through the whole range of motion, allowing elbows to bend together, resisting the negative on the curl, positive on the tricep press. Going for pretty full activation throughout. Reps on one side, switching, setting the shoulders, trying to stand up nice and tall. Reps on the other side. Concentration curl, self-resisted bicep, getting down into a squat, elbow planted inside, trying to again get full extension at the elbow, curl, allowing tricep pressing elbow to bend as well. If this squat level is unattainable, same thing can be accomplished with hips a little bit higher, a little bit more of a bent over position, still isolating movement at the shoulder by placing the elbow into there. Can get even higher and rest elbow on the thighs to isolate. If that is really unattainable, you can also just do the fully upright bicep tricep. Self-resisted single side row, similar to tricep, except tricep bicep, but I'm starting out front, and then the top hand elbow gets planted in, and then pulling across the body, trying to activate the upper back, trying to allow the pulling shoulder to squeeze back from a slightly forward position to a back position, drawing the elbow back all the way into that row position, chest open. Does not feel that great to push back against that, so I would just do the pull, relax on the concentric pull. If it feels good to resist on the way back, great. Starting slightly across the body, pull, squeezing the shoulder blades together, coming back up. Starting across, shoulder moves back, elbow comes back into that full expression of the row. Self-resistance with band, good morning and row. I'm going to start by stepping on one end of my band from a tall position here. You can have both feet together, or you can be slightly staggered. Good morning, pulling back with the elbow, trying to get full good morning and find a full position in that row. Again, hinging at the hips, pulling myself down, resisting the row with the legs, and then resisting all the way back up. This side, start nice and tall, arm fully extended, hinging at the hips, rowing back towards the bottom of the ribs, and then up. It's going to be easy for people to want to row up to their shoulder. Try to avoid that by having that shoulder squeeze back, pulling back towards the bottom of the ribs, resisting all the way back. Single side only unless somebody had a really long rope, and then we could do both. Self-resisted good morning and curl, similar to our good morning and row. Instead of pulling back, we're just bending at the elbow for that hammer curl and back up. If somebody had a loop, they could do this kind of grip on their rope. Again, trying to keep the hinge at the hips and out of the back. Trying to start with that arm fully extended while also being nice and tall. Modify by having a little more slack to complete the curl without going quite as deep. Resist all the way down and all the way back up. Self-resisted squat and lateral raise. I'm going to start with my arm not quite all the way down by my side. Squat, pulling up towards what would be a shoulder height raise on the one side, back. It's not quite full range of motion, even with a full range of motion in the squat, but also add a forward raise instead of that lateral raise, trying to resist, really pulling and pulling as you come back, same with the side, pulling on the rope the whole time, and back up. Lat pull downs, I'm getting enough slack in the rope that I can kind of see it in front of me. Going from more or less straight up and pulling down to one side. I want to have enough slack that I can get pretty close to a full lat pull down, and then I'm resisting on the other side. So I'm allowing my lats to seesaw back and forth, keeping the strap just in front of my body the whole time. Trying to avoid losing spinal position or going behind the back, keeping it just in front for both directions. Nice and slow, pulling throughout the range of motion. Upper back chest press. This is easier with rope, but you could do it with clasped hands. I'm pulling the rope apart, trying to keep a little bit of external rotation in my arms so that my elbows don't flare up, my shoulders don't come up. From here, I'm pulling into the chest, trying to maintain tension on the rope, pushing back out, continuing to maintain tension on the rope. Might be pulling towards bottom of the rib cage or slightly above. Can also adjust the length of the rope for different feelings. Self-resisted upper back overhead press. Pulling on the rope, trying to keep elbows under the wrist. Tension on the rope through an overhead press. Nice and slow. Trying to maintain even, strong tension on the rope. Avoiding allowing the elbows to flare or shoulders to hunch up. Aiming towards overhead position. If people need to end just in front, that's an option as well. Reverse fly. Resisting with one arm. I'm going to be pulling back, allowing the elbow to bend. So I'm resisting with my tricep, trying to get to that full reverse fly position, and then resisting coming back just straight up, shoulders staying in the socket the whole time. So reverse fly on one side, tricep on the other. You could also go a little bit wider and resist the reverse fly with the opposite reverse fly, burning out both sides together. You could do something similar with a flasher, I guess some people call this. External rotation, shoulder, keeping the elbows plugged in. Try not to let people allow their elbows to float. Ooh, it burns. The external rotation flasher, self-resisted with band. Finally, row with a tricep resistance with the band. Same thing as with clasped hands, but modifying slightly with the band. Can get to a more full position in that row. Still resisting with tricep on the other side. Trying for full range of motion with that row. Even tension on the band. Hamstring curl, push, pull. Side step, hamstring curl, adding push, pull. Push in the middle, pull on each end. Faster or slower, you can get lower, you can get wider, you can be more upright. You can add an overhead press instead of that forward back press. Trying to keep hips relatively neutral, so not curling here, but curling back here. Knee repeater. Getting into my crouch position, trying to keep my back neutral, tapping back, driving knee forward. I can add arms, reach, squeeze, trying not to allow movement to happen in the spine, but rather keeping the spine and hips really still while moving at the hips and shoulders versus bouncing or crunching. Lateral knee repeater. Same thing, getting into my crouch, spine neutral, tapping out to the side, reaching to the other side, squeezing across. Again, trying to keep spine neutral, trying to keep hips and shoulders still in space, minimizing bouncing or twisting, moving faster for a challenge. Speed skater. Feet together, getting into that crouch, tap out to one side, tap out to the other side, adding an opposite reach, a little bit of rotation, getting lower, adding shuffle switch for more challenge. Lateral step or leap. From upright, it's just a step touch, getting more into that crouch, can get wider, adding the leap, lateral leap, staying low. Cross-country skier. From my crouch position, hips go back, keeping spine neutral, tap back one side, tap back other side. Again, trying to keep hips still in space, spine nice and neutral. Adding the opposite reach just up to shoulder height. Makes this look really cool. Shuffle switch. Still trying to keep everything still in the middle. Faster. Looking very cool. Power knee. Full extension overhead. Driving one knee up to the shoulder. Driving the other knee up to the shoulder. There is some spinal movement from an arch to a hollow, trying to lift through the shoulder blades as opposed to crunch down. Staying very tall through the power knee. You can do one side or opposite sides, alternating as you like. Touch back and kick will be stepping back for a touch and then switching, so feet come together and then opposite kick. Touch back and kick, or reach back and knee. Let's speed this up. So feet come together and switch on each rep. reach back and knee. Pendulum and power skip. This is going to be that single leg RDL, bringing it to that leg comes through. And we're going straight up to a power skip. Pendulum, power skip. Staying on one foot the whole time. You can, of course, do kickstand and knee, kickstand and knee, or pendulum, power skip. Step back lunge to kick. This would be stepping back and then coming through with a kick. Again, staying on one foot the whole time, but this time, instead of rotating around the hip, we're actually coming back to a bit of a low lunge. And then for a kick, modify the depth, you can do a knee instead. Step back, knee, touch back lunge, kick. Power skips. These are going to be reaching knee up, opposite hand goes up, knee up, opposite hand goes up, taking to the air, if that feels good. Not to be confused with the Mario skip, which is the same side hand as knee. They both work. Slow motion power knee. This is a standing core move. That power knee is full extension, drive. Adding the slow-mo element, we're going to drive and then take some counts to return. Can alternate, drive, slow return, drive, slow return. Balance and core working really hard. Power knee, slow-mo return. Slow motion twist march. Stretching up tall through the top of the head, hands in that guard position. Knee comes up, and I'm twisting just slightly to one side, trying to stay nice and tall, avoiding any sort of crunching or excessive twisting. Like I'm a barber pole. Slow motion twist march. Big squeeze, lots of activation here, but staying nice and upright. Cuban curl. Elbows out to the side, shoulders squeeze down, hands coming just to even with the shoulders, and then knuckles going back in space. External rotation of the shoulder from this 90-degree abducted position. Trying not to go so far forward that my shoulders change position. You could call this like a scarecrow wave or something to make it more interesting. Cuban curl is pretty interesting, I guess. You could hold a band or a bar of some sort, but notice elbows and shoulders are staying pretty still in space while rotating. Fast feet is just this, picking up one foot, putting it down. Fast feet in, out is going out, out, in, out, out, in, out, out, in. Trying to stop and then switch the foot that leads is a good brain challenge. So I was leading with this leg, now I'll lead with this leg. Same thing with fast foot, forward, back. Lead forward, forward, back, back, forward, forward, back, back. Switching the foot that leads on occasion makes it a fun brain game. Faster, slower, higher, lower, etc. Standing mountain climber is just a high knee march or adding that opposite reach on the other side. You can spread this out as long as this doesn't turn into this. Then you should go back to this. Standing mountain climber. Balance figure 8 with feet together, standing up nice and tall, arms are going to go up. I'm going to point my toe out front and do a figure 8 motion with my toe just off to the side of my body. can switch directions. Then I'm doing that figure 8. Of course, switching sides, trying to stay nice and strong through the core. I like toe pointed. I think it looks better. Standing side crunch, pretending I'm holding a ball overhead. Toe comes out to the side and reaches up towards that same side elbow. Notice I'm trying to stay lengthened through the spine as opposed to actually collapsing into that crunch. Activating all through here, but staying lifted, pretending to hold something overhead kind of helps me not to do this. You could do the knee up, slow-mo return on this side as well. Standing crunch, slow-mo return, switching sides as needed. Frog hops from a wide stance, reaching to the ceiling, reaching to the floor. Do not need to touch the ceiling or the floor, but if you can, it ends up being a little bit more of a hip hinge at the bottom in that wide stance. Adding the hop, only if you can land smoothly. Adding variations like forward and back, or 180 frog hop, only if people can keep that wide stance and land smoothly. Tendency is to kind of let those feet come in and stop landing smoothly. Jump, crash, squat. Avoid that. Heisman jacks. More stable variation is arms out, legs out, and we're squeezing across to the center line. Back out, squeeze across. Adding the jack variation, hopping to the center, squeeze, back out, hop to the center, squeeze. Trying to stay upright as opposed to collapsing every time. So nice and upright, squeeze, speed it up, or keep it slow. Sumo jabs, nice wide stance, knees press out, hips go straight down, aiming for about solar plexus height, punching, avoiding rotation, avoiding big reaches, or hunching. Can speed this up if you like. Staying nice and upright and solid through the back, as opposed to anything like this. From the top, knees press out to go straight down. Low punches, faster. Gets really hard. That looks really cool. Each knee on sheet, each knee on sheet. Okay. Low jacks. Getting into that crouch position again. Spine neutral. We can start with low tap out jacks. You can add some sort of arm movement, a little bat wing, or an overhead. Hopping out, hopping in for a low jack. Keeping the hips nice and still and low in space. You can add arms, speeding that up. Hips should stay still and low in space. Birds. Jab, cross, weave is going to be a lean to one side, cross, jab, nod, cross, jab. I am making this look really cool by starting with the inside hand each time. If people do the punch with the same side each time to start, that's okay too. Or if they start outside, inside, that's okay too. Wider stance if people want to get lower. Flamingo kicks. Posting the foot back and getting into a bent over position. If I get more bent over, I'm going to end up like this. Squeezing just to neutral, trying to keep the front of the body on, avoiding a big arch through the back, and rather just squeezing that leg up to neutral hip position. Solid here. If people need to be more upright, it's going to be less travel with the leg. Again, avoiding, but rather smooth, controlled. contraction of the glutes to a squeeze and then down. Could end up all the way to the floor if that felt right. Could also be braced on something to help support. Flamingo kicks. Switch kicks from upright, arms in guard, kicking out, return, kick out, return. Can get higher. If that kick doesn't feel good, can just do a knee. Jumping between the switches would look like this. Or stringing those together would look like this. What if this turns into this? Go back to this. Yeah. Tricep kickback can be done with or without weights. We're getting into that bent over position. Hands come to just below knees. Then we're holding on top of a row. So rolling back to the bottom of the ribs. Chest stays open, shoulders stay squeezed away from the ears. Nice long spine, and then kick back, kick back. If people do have weights, they'll be tending to want to come to here, but try to limit that range of motion to just getting vertical with the forearm. Doing it up here is less good. Doing it in a more bent over position is more good. You could add some pulses or something if you have weights, also great. Arm sprints from a full upright position, row position on one side, overhead position on the other, and then switching. Trying to keep nice and tight through the middle, so avoiding any sort of movement at the spine. Coming all the way back with that elbow and all the way to overhead is the goal, and then speeding that up for more challenge. Arm circles. Heisman hops, similar to the Heisman jack. You can still do that step squeeze, staying upright, slight rotation, no crunching. Hop variation is hopping from one side to the other, pausing in that Heisman position. Again, not overly rotating, not crunching, upright, lengthened, squeeze. You could speed these up. That just feels weird. Good morning with arm variations. Classic good morning position here. Making that a little bit more challenging is holding that fly position. Making it much harder is holding an overhead position. Doing reps faster or slower are options. Minimizing range of motion or just holding here is great modification. Kick, jab, cross. We're going to do a kick, jab, cross, kick, jab, cross. I know it's actually jab, cross on this side, and then it's cross, jab on that side. For you martial arts heads out there, oops, I messed it up. But I'm punching with the same leg I just kicked with, then going for the other side so that I'm automatically figuring it out as I go. So it's a punch twice with one side with a kick in the middle on each side. Starting block shuffle. This one I'm starting low, looking this way with this knee back. That's the direction I'm going to open up to. I'm standing, shuffle, shuffle, and dropping back on that other side. I can go all the way to the floor. I can just come to here. Shuffle to the front, shuffle, turning back to that side. Shuffle, shuffle, reach, shuffle, shuffle, reach. So the knee that goes back is the side I'm opening up to. My first shuffle, and on my second shuffle, I'm turning the rest of the way. So 180 degrees, main shuffle. I don't have to go very far to make this challenging going up and down. I can go a little further, but most people aren't going to have room for that kind of nonsense. Squat shuffle. Squat, up, shuffle, shuffle, squat. I can reach down if I want, but I want to keep this still a squat and not some sort of weird twist variation thing. It's a squat, reach to the outside, or not. Don't have to travel very far to make this challenging. Side lunge and side crunch. So wide stands for side lunge. In this case, we'll be doing a side lunge where we reach, and then we're coming around to a side crunch on the same side. Stepping back out, side lunge, side crunch, side lunge, side crunch. You can modify by not going quite as deep. Crisscross jacks, so starting in that wide-ish feet, arms out, squeezing across the midline, out, squeeze across. You can jump these in and out. So jump actually crossing the heels up on the toes, back to wide, cross, back to wide. Kind of like a seal jack, except not clapping and actually ending with the heels crossed in the middle. You could add a sumo squat, crisscross, making that a crisscross sumo jack. Cassock squat. So that's going to be wide. We're going down onto one side and then gliding over to the other. Difference between the hip glide is that we're trying to go as deep as possible. Option to turn the heel up on each side, or the toes up on each side. Otherwise, just staying low. Come up in the middle if you like. A little bit deeper than a side lunge with the option to turn the toe up. Sumo sachet. So I'm stepping up to a wide squat, sumo squat, and then one foot comes in and kicks the other one to the other side. Sumo squat on the other side. Sumo sachet. Sumo sachet. If you want to get really into the sumo part, you can bring your foot up and down. You can also do a squat, step touch, squat, step touch. Sumo squat cross jack. That's going to be that sumo squat. And we're bringing everything across the midline. Sumo squat, cross. If you want to jump that, it's a sumo squat, cross. Sumo squat, cross. Again, crossing the heels at the top. Sumo squat, cross. Sumo squat, cross on each end will be the stepping variation. Double jack burpee. So that's going to be a jumping jack, down for a plank jack, up for a jumping jack, down for a plank jack. You could also go wide, so your jumping jack is happening here, out, in, wide. Modifications would be a tap out jack at the top. You could throw in push up first, and then you could do your plank jack. You could also do tap outs, in, tap out, etc. Bent over jabs, so from standing, going into our bent over position, punching straight down towards the toes, trying to keep spine neutral, trying to get close to back parallel to the floor. So we're not up here, down here, aiming for just between the feet. Try not to do a lot of twisting, but rather faster movement with more stillness in the core. Hydrant and hydrant variations. So from kneeling, this would be a hydrant, squeezing out to the side. We do a hydrant circle, where we go out, back, and down. You could reverse that, back, out, and down. And you can do pulses out to the side, or glute pulses back. Trying to keep the lengthened tailbone up to the top of the head, and spine neutral, abs pulled in the whole time. Hacky sack, aka river dance. Front, front, back, back. Trying to stay as upright as possible. You can jump between these as well, which would be jump. Brain teaser is if you're starting on the right all the time, switch to starting on the left. I find that really difficult. There you go. Touch and pass. This is a little brain teaser footwork thing. So we're going to go turn, turn. So I'm looking down towards these toes, and I stand up, turn, turn, and we're reaching up this way. So it doesn't go quite 180 degrees. Back foot turns, turn, turn, turn. Now to add that touch part, we go turn, turn down, turn, turn up. You can get all the way down to the floor and all the way up to the corner. Speeding it up, it's going to look like this. If you're going so fast, you can get kind of dizzy, so you can cheat by just looking one direction. Still going down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up. And of course, then the other side, we down, turn, turn, up, turn, turn, down. If people do something similar but not exact, it's probably okay. 1, 2, 3 backhand. It's a footwork challenge first. So I'm stepping across, 1, 2, 3, back to where I started. Cross on the other foot, 1, 2, 3. It's like the basis, like hip hop step. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'm stepping out in a little V, back to center. Out in the other V, back to center. Adding a little backhand motion. Adding a little backhand on the other side. I know it'd be a forehand on one, but whatever, we're doing 2 backhands. And you can say, oh, backhand, backhand. I love what you're doing out there. Backhand, backhand. You can speed it up a little bit, but you can really only go so fast with that.